Just making sure everything is on. Alrighty. Alright, setting up pages and stuff over here so I can see everything. Alright. So, as you know, or should know since you're here, that I do car photography. And as you can see, I've started changing up how I do everything. For those of you that don't know, we do use Nikon around here. One reason is, first off, you can usually pick up an older Nikon like this. This is a D7200. My other camera is a D3100. You can usually pick them up for pretty cheap on Marketplace. I think altogether for the 7100 and some lenses, we had I think we paid like $500 for it. For the 3200 with like 3 or 4 lenses, it was right around the same price. So I mean, we got a lot with it. Y'all can't hear me too well, just let me know. So yeah, I mean, you can get started with less than $1,000. I mean, even if you spaced it out, you could buy everything you needed in a month. The most expensive purchase at one time that I have made is for this lens. It's actually not that big. That's just the lens hood. But this is a used older lens, 70 to 200. I picked it up for I think 800 or $900 on eBay. I haven't seen another one for that price, but it is what it is. Like I said, it is an older, I think it's like a first generation DSLR. Been wanting to move everything over to mirrorless, but I mean, the price doesn't justify how expensive they are. So that's why I haven't bought one. But let's get into it. As you can see, I've got my side over here blurred out. If anybody uses Lightroom, they know exactly why I have that. Right this second, it's not a big deal. As you can see, I'm just selecting some as you can see, sorry, I was moving stuff around. I'm new to this setup. It's not the live stream we usually have for the races. So, but let's see. We will choose these. These are some of the very first photos. Let's see. Sometimes it'll tell you when it was taken if I know. I don't exactly know how to do that, but whatever. Alright, we're going to import all of them. Okay, now I'm going to move this little guy back. Let's see if we can adjust him a little bit. That way, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So once the initial previews are done, we're going to go over here to develop. And this is generally how I do everything. So I do use presets. I'm going to go ahead and throw that one out there. Ain't nothing wrong with it. It gives you a good base. It kind of gives you an idea of where the picture can go. But like this picture, it is with anybody that uses a DSLR knows you take a couple test shots, you review it, you adjust your settings appropriately, and take another test shot, so on and so forth until you get to about where you want to be. See, even with a preset, you can tell all of these are just blown out. The good thing about Lightroom, though, as long as you shoot raw, the majority of the time you can save it. See, look at that. Not all blown out and mess. Let's see. There we go. So you can get it before and after. That's just with a preset and pulling the exposure way down so it's not like that. I mean, right off the bat, and see, I mean, you can pull it way down. So I'm not using any fancy equipment to take the photos. And you can buy, I didn't even buy Lightroom. If you go to Adobe Creative Cloud, right here, you can get packages. I never go in here, so I can't figure out where stuff is. But anyway, you can get the packages, and I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month for Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, and Photoshop. The three basics you need for like $15 a month. The weird looking lady in the bottom corner. I appreciate that, Robert. I appreciate that. It's glad to see somebody's in here that cares. Oh, I love that. Look at that. But yeah. Alright, so we're here with a preset. See, that preset's a little better. The shadows and stuff aren't as... But, okay, so you see how the preset has changed all these sliders? I mean, except for this one because I've messed with this one. But, that's all the preset does. It moves these sliders around. Okay? So we got a before and after. Alright. There we go. Okay. So, say we wanted to use this. Doesn't look bad. Maybe we want to go with this one, or that one, or this one. Hey, that one's not too bad either. That one's not too shabby. It's all in how you want it to feel. Like one of the usual ones I use is this one. So, I mean, the whole thing with you're gonna hurt my feelings. You're gonna make me cry, Robert. But the whole thing with photography is just like any other form of art. It's subjective. It is what you want it to be. So edit how you like it. You're editing for you, not for other people. I mean, it's like, see, I look at some of this and I'm like, that's not for me. You might like that. But let's go with the one I originally had. Similar, anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I like how dark this is. You can see the high, and then pretty much you just play around with the sliders. See the highlights, how it blows everything out? Highlights are exactly what it says, highlights. So if you bring them down, you can see that up in here turns like that grayscale color because that's where the sun and stuff is hit, and it's also like lightened all that. But you see how you turn it down too far, it like doesn't look right. So if you bump it back up just a little bit, you start bringing that stuff in. And your shadows, these shadows are all the way up. If you bring them down, obviously it messes with the shadows. Anywhere there's a shadow, like, it's pretty self-explanatory. Here, the whites, they're bumped up. You bring them down, you see how everything kind of fades. Anything with any sort of white in it. Blacks, same way. It'll make your blacks blacker. At the same time, if you bring them all the way up, you see how it kind of like flattened it out. Whites all the way down, blacks all the way up, whites. You see how that kind of like blew it out, like. And then if you go back over here and you click on your preset again, it'll reset everything. So if you screw it up, you can kind of fix it. Yeah, and I want to win the lottery. We'll see how that goes. No, I do need to make your poster though. I might surprise you with a Dick or Die in December. All right. So play with the sliders, kind of figure out where you want it. Let's see. I like them a little darker. Don't tell my wife. See, your contrast, how it kind of brightens everything up. That kind of darkens everything. We'll bring the shadows down just a little bit. Bring the whites up just a little. But that's pretty much it. And you go through each photo and you kind of, all right, texture. Pay close attention. You see how everything kind of starts blurring? It blurs the edge of everything. You got to be careful with texture, clarity, and dehaze. It will throw a photo all out of whack real quick. Usually what I like to do is, most of the time presets, they'll mess with these, so just keep an eye on them. Clarity. When you add clarity, you see how everything starts to pop, but you see how dark everything got. I'm putting the shop together at the house, gonna hang it up. Fancy. And you see if you take it all the way down, how it kind of softens everything. So, but mainly I work full picture, mostly background. I'm more focused on the background at first. I get that how I want. Dehaze, it'll add, I'm not entirely sure what dehaze does, I'm going to be honest with you. But I know if you move it this way, it turns everything white. All your like shadows and stuff, it turns everything kind of whitish. You see now it looks kind of comic booky right in here. And if you turn it this way, it makes the darks darker and kind of fades everything. I do know if you use it on like windshields and stuff, it knocks a lot of the glare out. But let's bring dehaze back down. We'll add just a touch. Your vibrance, how it's not saturation, it is how bright the colors are. Vibrance. I mean, so like you can bring that all the way down, but you see how there's still some wood tones. Any saturation, like that's obviously how much color is there. So let's bring this back to a reason. If you double click on, like, see the cursor is on vibrance, if you double click, it'll reset it. So like vibrance, I'm gonna bring it down just a touch. I'm gonna bring the saturation down a little bit too. That way the wood looks a little faded. Okay, now you see how it's got like an orange tone to it? Everything's orange. You can mess with your temp and kind of see how that goes. It changes the whole like color profile. See, now it's blue. You got more of a black and white right there. Start bringing it in. I kind of like that. Let's go back a little bit. See how I kind of grade everything out? You just play around with it. I mean, that's really all you do. The tint stuff, I don't really mess with the tint unless it's like obvious when you apply something. Because tint will, see how everything's starting to turn green? And then if you go the opposite way, like it messes with a lot of stuff. So I typically try not to mess with tint too much. Alright. I usually leave this tab open, but I'm going to close it just to make this a little easier for you. Sorry, I'm thirsty. A little ASMR in there. Alright. Tone curve. Play around with this a little bit. Most of the time I like how the tone curve is on a picture before I mess with it. But like, these are your highlights and stuff. Your highlights, your shadows. You can see, general rule of thumb is you don't make big changes with a tone curve. You make subtle changes. See this line right here in the middle? That's your balance. Your basic, like if I didn't have a filter on there, it'd be straight, right? So then your highlights usually bump up just a little, and your shadows usually bump down just a little. See, if I change this, see how everything like a lot darker, and I got to figure out where it was. Kind of like it about right there. If you move it up, it like flattens out some of the colors. See how you really screw something up if you're not careful. Let's see, right about there. I like it right about there. And then this is your highlights. It's kind of a flat. It's a little brighter. More flat. There you go. And you can put different points, obviously. And they have it for your RGB. Alright. This is where you start messing with colors. So, notice how I was saying everything looked kind of orange up here a little bit? That has to do with this. You go in here. You see how now they're kind of a reddish color? Bring them back out. Now they're more yellowish, greenish. You're mixing colors here. It's like finger painting. You're just mixing colors. You move it around. Then you can mess with your saturation. See how you got more orangish. Then there's no orange. Your luminance is how bright or dark the shade's gonna be. So like, see how I bring it down and it turns, but now it's really bright. So you gotta pay attention to your colors. Like your red. See, there is some red in there, but not a lot. This is where you gotta be careful too. Like I said, I'm messing with the background. I'm trying to mess with the background more. Well, in a minute, we're also going to be messing with your subject. So, you got to be careful when you're messing with all these that it doesn't throw your subject off. By the way, if you're doing cars, this aqua and this blue right here gonna be enemy on windshields. Color grading, I typically don't mess with this too much. As you say, this is midtones, shadows, highlights. See, now my highlights are like a yellowish color. You obviously move it around. And if you click on it, afterwards you can drag it in a straight line. So let's add a little bit of yellow tint to it for the midtones. The highlights, I do not want yellow. Say about adding a little bit of orange to it. And then your shadows, I don't want to add that. See how I kind of gave it like a warm vibe? And then this, just like that's a flat picture. And then kind of just adjust your highlights and stuff a little more. You do your balance and blending and all right. You detail. Typically don't mess with that too much. Lens correction, transform. Oop. I don't ever mess with that because that is like your axis and stuff and twisting and turning. I never mess with these two really. Effects, vignetting. If you want to bring them edges in, your midpoint. That's kind of how far in you want it. How round or square. And then highlights, darkness, you feather. Do you want a no feather? Do you want to be able to tell there's a ring around it, but barely? Or do you want to kind of feather it in? You can add grain. I usually don't add grain. Calibration. This is a big one. Watch this. You come down here to your blue. Everything has a little bit of blue in it. Look how it changes all those colors. Like I said, you're finger painting. And here, you're adding more or less of one color, but it's changing everything. Same thing with your saturation. And your hue, like, see, kind of like that. Greens. You just kind of come around here and play with some sliders. See, we're getting somewhere. Alrighty. Now the fun part. Go up here. Lightroom has made this very simple as far as you click that button, select subject, select sky. Like you can, I'll pull up some pictures here in a second. We'll mess with the sky a little bit. Select subject. Alright. You see how it selected this, but it also selected a little bit of this back here. We don't want that. So we're going to go to subtract. We're going to go to our brush. I'm going to drop this brush down some. And then you just hold your mouse and you brush away the stuff that you don't want. We're going to get all up in there and a little bit back here. Let's see. All of this. It's okay if you brush something that you're not supposed to brush because you can always go back and add. There's an add and a subtract button. So like these areas that get a little too close, go back, hit the brush, and go back in there. There you go. You leave if you do a little bit on the edge, I mean, you're not really going to notice it too much. Oop. There's a piece back here, and we want to brush in the license plate. See how I went a little bit outside on the license plate? That little bit of feathering you're not really going to notice. Like it's not going to stand out. So it's okay. Like you don't have be as close as you can, but you don't have to like buy a tablet and pencil it in and stuff. So we're still in here. We've got everything how we want it. I'm going to hide the overlay. Now watch this. Whee! Can't see shit. But, alright. So now we can mess with just what we've selected. So when you brighten something up some, you also want to add a little contrast. That way it doesn't just look bright for no reason. You want everything to kind of flow. This is usually where I mess with the highlights the most. Because like you see how kind of like shiny it looks. And then shadows. See how I brightened everything up? It's because it's knocking them shadows out. I usually bring the shadows up just a little. And the whites I usually play with. See how it kind of grays everything out? I don't like that. But I also don't want it as bright as it is. So we'll bring those out. Blacks I always bring down just a touch till it feels right. See, like that would be too much for me, personally. I mean, you might like that. I do not like that. And if you bring them up, see it brings the whole image up. So, but you got to be careful with your blacks. Before anybody makes a racial joke, you got to be careful with the blacks on here, because when you add your texture and especially your clarity, it's going to add a little black to it. And then if you add dehaze, adds a lot of black to it too. So like your texture, we're going to bump that up just a little. Clarity, you see how things are kind of like getting darker. Bump that up just a little to add some extra definition to this to make it stand out from the background. And then dehaze a little bit. It helps take care of some of the glare. Gotta get my words together. Jesus. Saturation, I'll play around with it some. See how it turned it like a bluish color? I don't want that. But I also don't want to pull everything out of it. So I'll reset it here, and I'll probably just bump it, just a little nudge, just nudge it. All right. While we're in mask, I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna do a radial gradient. I'm gonna drag it over this, just like this. Now this center section is where it's most concentrated. This outer section here is your feather. So see, now there's no center section. It's 100% feathered. And if you do that, it's just one. So your feathering is how well it blends into. And you can rotate it and everything to kind of fit. I'm going to invert it so we bring everything down. I'm going to bring this exposure down just a little bit more. That way it kind of highlights the centerpiece, right? Now you see this white right here. I'm going to show you two tricks. One, you can use a linear gradient. Sometimes that'll work. Let's see how it also is over our photo. You can go back in and subtract all that with the brush, or delete that, get rid of it. You can just start with the brush. And you can come in here and you can do this. Boom, 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 boom. You can get a little wild with it. Look at that. Everything you brush is going to have the same, whatever you tell it to do. So like, well, bam, look at there. It's like I cut it straight out of Photoshop. But what you can do is, now you can darken that area. Yeah, that's a little extreme, but you get the point. What I would do is bring it down just a touch to where it's not so noticeable. Probably increase my blacks just a little. And then I would come right over here and I would paint the rest of this floor in like this. So it all kind of blends. And then to combat over here with these whites, I would, now you can adjust this, see? That makes, the space in between the lines is your fade. Is your feathering. So if you bring it all the way up, you get a harsh line. If you bring it all the way back, you see my point. Let's bring that down just a touch. Alright, now you see how that messed with the vignetting? I'm going to come back down here to vignetting. Bring it out some. Like that. There we go. I would say, and just to finish it off, I would probably bring this here. And then I would really darken that up so it draws your eye to this. So I would say that picture is done. Alright, let's move to another photo. Okay. I did not mean to caps lock that. Alright, so what do we want? Which one we want? Let's go with this one. So let's get rid of these. I'm just checking the feeds. Make sure everything is okay. We are up and going. I do have two monitors, so you're only watching the main monitor here. Alrighty. Hey, let's, here we go. Alright. Let's skip through a little bit. Find one with some sunlight and some sky. Excuse me. Okay, like right here. Just for, you go over there, select sky. Boom! You see how I did this? It marked it out for you. Obviously you can go in and you can add or subtract. And then pow. 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 It's dark as hell over there. But anyway. That's basically how I edit. There's some photos inside that I was wanting to mess with. That one. That's the one I want. Okay. And come over here. Gonna find me a preset. Look at that. Alright. Also, you see how the headlight doesn't, it's on, but it doesn't have anything? Watch this. Your highlights combat headlights, but you have to be careful with that because it also affects everything. So, you gotta be careful. What's up, babe? Look, you're on the webcam. So, Let's do this one. Where are they at?
Heidi's having a old car show.
Oh.
Mom was like, "Do y'all want to come?" I was like, "Yeah."
I forgot about that. Ooh, what's this one look like? Too much blue. I do not want to get into that right now. Okay, let's go back with the one that I wanted to begin with. Sorry, I'm still looking around at other ones. Boom, 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 boom. This one. Okay. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to run through it real quick. Going to bring the exposure up some. That seems about good. Now, here's where I'm going to do something different. Alright, I'm going to select the subject. Alright, it did a perfect job. It grabbed the whole thing. I'm going to invert it. So it's everything but the subject. And here, see all that brick and stuff in the background? I want to bring that out. So there you go. You see how it brought out the texture in the wall and everything? Right out of the bag just a little. So I don't want to do black and white, but I do want a little color back there, but not a shit ton of color. So there you go. Alright, now we're going to go back to our mask. I'm going to select the subject again. Okay, now this time we're actually going to work on the subject. Oh, man. Alright. By the way, if you don't want to click that every time, you just start working. Alright, so here, since it is dark and we're on the shaded side, I'm going to bring my shadows up first. That'll give me an idea of how bright the picture needs to be. I'm also going to mess with my whites because that will also bring it up. I'm not going to mess with the highlights. I am going to make the blacks a little blacker. See, I don't want to blow it out like that. I want it to kind of blend, but I do want it to stand out. So like that. Well, then I'm going to add some more texture, some more clarity. It's a little more than I usually use. I'm going to add a little bit of dehaze. And I'm going to pull a little color out of it. Not too much because I want it black and white. But also don't want it... I want it to flow with the feel of the rest of the picture. Feel me? You got me. You understand. And then I'm going to take a linear gradient. I'm going to bring it straight down. Because I like the way the floor is done. I'm going to bring this straight down. I'm going to let it overlap. And I'm going to bring my exposure down just a little bit and kind of darken it up some. That way it draws you in. So there we go. We have done 2 pictures of this motorcycle. Alright, that's going to be the last one of this we do. Yes, I want to remove all them. Gonna select all them. If you hold shift and go to, like, you click one, then hold shift, and then go to wherever and click it again, it will select everything in between them two. So we're gonna export. I'm gonna choose a specific folder. We're gonna throw them in the random shit folder. No watermark. That's obviously where you can edit, add more watermarks and such. And then you export. You see we got 2 files up there exporting. We'll do a car here next. Alright, they're done. I can remove them. I'm not going to watermark them. Let's go to the library. What would be a good one that y'all want to see? Who's watching right now? Y'all gotta talk to me. Like, y'all can't just be watching and not saying anything. Like, talk to me here. Why y'all gotta be that way? Huh? Why you gotta be that way? Rude. Y'all just rude, man. Wanna lurk, don't wanna say nothing. Huh. Let's see. Oh. We are gonna go to U.S. Street Nationals. Alright, I'm just gonna. There's a shit ton of photos. Like in this album right here, there are 1,200 photos. So you can go through and I'm gonna pick some. Pick like two or three. Alright? Because we've been at this for almost 45 minutes. Now, because I know what I'm doing, I'm not having to explain it. I could have had, I'd say around 15, 20 photos done already. That's a beautiful car, but if you have done a couple already. What's one I haven't done? I think I did the RX-7. I know I did some of the Cummins Nova. Let's see, there's some of John Dock and them. There's Eric in his K-swapped S2000. I don't know which one to grab. I wish y'all would talk to me here. It'd be so much easier if somebody could tell me that one. Right there, that one. I don't want any pit photos. There we go. Back to the racing. Just trying to grab one I haven't done yet and actually put on Facebook or Instagram. Because, I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've been going through all these albums. 2 years worth of photos. And redoing them. See, these are all long shots. So Kristen took all these. Let's go back. I think there's another album. What's in here? Oh, this is before. That was when we went to New Orleans, because we went to New Orleans and stuff to see some family before we went down to U.S. Street National. So there's 2 albums. Hell, in this one there's 718 photos. So, There's that Huracan. There's Devin's car. Let us do. That'd be a good picture to do. Okay, so I'm gonna do two. I've picked out what two I want. I want this one. Nope, not that one. This one. And I want this one. We're gonna import them too. Just for you. Alright, we're gonna go over here to our develop tab. Look at this. Look at this picture right here. That's a pretty fine picture right there, just by itself. But let's skip over here to my presets, man. My presets. See, that would be pretty cool. White cars I find are always a little harder because they usually are stupid bright. Oops. See, like that's kind of got like an old schooly vibe to it. Let's go with this one. No, I don't want that one. I want this one. Do I want this one? Don't want that one. Do I want this one? Ooh, I wonder how this one would look. Let's go with this one. Alright. We're gonna throw something weird on here. What's up, John? Over on my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. I might be a little late to seeing your comment, but what's up, man? You been doing all right? Okay, so here, do you want to bring the exposure up some so we can kind of get this man in here? But to combat that, we can go over here and select subject. It should grab him and the car. See, didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. So, I'm going to subtract. I'm going to go with brush. I'm going to hit all this shit back here. It's okay if I get a little bit of the edge of the car because I'm going to go back. I'm going to add with my brush. And see? Kind of boop, boop, boop. Just brush that back in there. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller so I can grab all of this guy here. Ah. See, this is why I like feathering. Like, I don't have to be spot on perfect. And it kind of works. See? Boom! Look at that. So, I can bring him up with the car. Get a little bit of contrast to make them bring the highlights down a lot because it is a white car. White you got to be careful with because it will, like some white, it'll screw the white all up. Yeah, sometimes when you do highlights with white, it'll do just that right there, where it like turns it like a grayscale. Bump the blacks down just a little, add a little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity, tad bit of dehaze. Okay, so and I want to select my subject again. I want to invert it, and this time I want to add the brush, and I want to come in here and I want to brush this man in. Yes, brushy, brush, brush, brush. I want to brush him out. Let's get rid of your little hand here, old man. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that stuff back there. Now, I'm usually as careful as I can be. That way it'll save me some time from having to go back and then, like, erase that stuff. So, like, right in here, just want to be easy. Alright. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that down just a little bit. So he's more in, but the car is your main focus. So yeah, like I would probably be done with this photo, to be honest. Might come down here and mess with the... Actually, yeah, I would go up here to color. I'm going to take some of the red out of that. I don't know why that's purple. I think that's... Where's my... Whatever. I was trying to find out if it was supposed to be blue or purple. I don't know, but I changed it to blue. It looks better blue. I like it blue. Alright, so yeah, like I would be done with that one. Alright, this one. You see how we have the sky? This is where some of the presets really shine. Like, let's go to one of my favorites. Boom. You see how that sky, like, it just... that looks good. Then I go in there and I tweak it. Okie dokie. So then I'm going to come up here. And I kind of like how this one's already exposed. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to bring this contrast back down some. The highlights are already down. Highlights will also, like, make your clouds stand out. But you got to be careful with it. Like, you got to be careful with everything. But shadows, I want to bring them down some. Not a lot. You'd be surprised. A little bit goes a long way. At least that's what my wife tells me. Blacks, I think there's a little too much. So we're going to see how that lightens up the picture some. I don't want it way down there. I want it about right there. See how this has the dehaze jacked all the way up? I do actually kind of like that. Clarity, texture can be softened a little bit. Alright. Alright, go back to our subject. I do not want the guy in here, so I'm going to paint him out. Get the hell out of my photo, boy. Boing. It's not like them herpes you got in Vegas. You can't get rid of those. But I can get rid of this guy. Alright. You see how it kind of blended down here and stuff? You can mess with your density and flow and all that stuff and kind of blend it in a little better. But I'm just going to leave it like this. Bring it up a little bit. Bring that down. That's too much. That's too bright. Because in a second, I'm going to drop them highlights. I'm going to bring the whites up. Since the car is white. Bump that up just a little more. Shadows. So I've brightened this car up significantly. So, and then I want to add a little bit more texture because remember the whole thing has texture and clarity already added to it. And then I'm going to opposite dehaze. If you go the opposite way on dehaze, it lightens it up a lot, remember? So if we're here, I can kind of bring it to there. And then I can go up here and I can select my sky, which it'll probably grab the tree. Oh, it didn't. Okay. But it did grab part of the car that I don't want. So we're just going to kind of zippity-da doop doop tap. I wonder what the wife's making for dinner. I can hear her in there beating and banging. Wish she'd beat and bang me. Damn it! I didn't mean to grab the tree. Alright, I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to add with the brush. I'm going to come up here, be easy with it. Getting a little reckless here. Pow. There we go. Okay. So then, you see? Whee! Look at the sky. There we go. And I can add with the brush where it was like, get the hell out of here. Right around in here where it was hazy looking. Like it wasn't blending very well. I can just get the edge. Because, I mean, remember, yes, it's a 3D object, but you're working with a 2D format. So you have lines. Everything's a line. So, and then I would probably come over here with the brush. And you see all up under here. Now you know they spent damn good money. And what I'll usually do is I'll blow that all the way out so I can see what the hell I'm working with. And then what I'll do is I'll come back with the brush and I'll kind of get rid of the stuff that I don't want. Oh, add a little more with the brush. Where's the edge of that tire? There it is. Okay. Get rid of the ground. Don't want to mess with it. And then what I'll do is I'll bring a little bit of exposure in. Bring the shadows up. Bring a little more exposure so you can kind of start seeing what's going on. A little bit of whites and the blacks you gotta be careful with because it'll kind of like blow everything out. And you just kind of blend it back in to the rest here. See, like that's too much. So actually what I would do here is I would take this brush and I would remove this wheel because I can't get it to blend properly. But now you see how these are two different colors. And now they're not. So then I would do this. Bring this up like this. And then the same thing. Subtract with the brush. Get rid of you. Begone, heathen. Yeah. That is not what I wanted at all. Let's try this again. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I don't like that. Ugh. Okay. Okay. We're going to call that done. That's done. I feel good about that one. Yes. I thoroughly enjoy this. Same thing. Select. Export. Random shit folder. Ba-boom. Now I am going to show you a little trick. Just a little teeny tiny trick that I recently started doing. There's other ways to do this, but since you've watched this long, I'm gonna show you trick. Alright, we're gonna grab Logan's 6.4. Okay, let's find one like this one. Okay. Import it. This might not even be a good picture. I don't know. It's not. It's blurry as fuck. Okay. Let's get one that is close up that you can. His windshield is not tinted. Okay. But y'all motherfuckers don't know that. Okay. You see how like it's bright? Let's start a quick little filty on here. Let's do a bright one. Brightish one. And straighten this motherfucker up some. Okay, dokie. I'm gonna crop it. I straightened it. Okay. So. I kind of like how the background looks. I'm not even going to mess with that. I'm just trying to show you my little trick here. Get rid of that thing. Alright. So you brighten him up. You see how you, as you brighten, how like glary the windshield looks? You can kind of mess with that with the highlights and stuff. I mean, but the more you lighten it up, the more glare it looks on the windshield. Dehaze, if you add dehaze, you see how it kind of helps with that, but it also blackens everything else. So we'll get a color we're happy with. Boom. Here's my trick. Okay, you watching? You watching the screen? You watching me? You watching? Watching me? Watch you? Watch me? Alright. You can probably guess what I'm about to do here. I'm gonna paint this fucking windshield. Okie dokie. I'm gonna have to go back around it anyway, but alright. That's good enough to show you. And then boom. No, I'm kidding. I mean, you gotta like blend it in. But you see I can drop the exposure on it a little bit, add a little bit of black. You see how it starts kind of not looking like it's matching? You just kind of play around with it. So like, yeah, it's not gonna look, if you do too much, it's not gonna blend. But you see how it's starting to kind of look like it belongs? Huh? Huh? So you can kind of darken it up a little bit. So now you can't see inside of it. So like, if we take it off, boom, boom, look at there. You used to be able to see everything in there. Now you don't really see much. That is my little tip for sticking around this long. And then also, if you come down here, take out these blues. See how I took the blue out of everything? Because there's a little bit of blue on the truck from the sky and the reflections and stuff. It usually shows up really bad in windshields. But, there you go. I appreciate you sticking around this long. I hope you learned something. I'm going to check everything over here. But yeah. Alright, we've been live for an hour doing this. So, but I hope you can, this will be saved to the Facebook page and the YouTube page. So, I mean, you can go back and watch it if you have any questions. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to me. Like, I'm here. So, I appreciate everybody watching. And I'll see you next time.